Welcome to the Logos Bible Software webinar on advanced search techniques. We're so happy you joined us today. This webinar covers advanced search techniques. We'll cover combined search operators, custom resource collections, and label searching. During the webinar, you can ask questions by sending us an email at webinars@faithlife.com. That's webinars@faithlife.com. I'm really excited to introduce our speaker today. His name is Adam Borys. He's worked in customer service for over 9 years and is one of our in-house Logos pros here on campus. What I really appreciate about Adam is his deep knowledge of the software and his connection with our users. He's always talking to them and knows your issues and what you're going through. So I appreciate the input that he's able to bring to our team with the Logos pros. He also has a passion on helping other people understand and study their Bibles better. So Adam, welcome, and we're looking forward to what you have to share for us.
All right, thank you, John. I am really excited about today's webinar, talking about search. This is something that is often underutilized in the program, something we often hear back, boy, we wish we knew how to do this a little bit more from our users. So we're just going to jump right into it here. This is advanced searching. We are going to cover just some basics here first. So just in case you don't know, here's the search button. Let's just start by opening up there. And I want to go over first, what are the different types of search here? Basic search is going to search all kinds of resources in your library. No matter what kind of books you have, then they're going to show up here in basic search. Bible search is going to search, like it sounds like, only in Bible passages, and it's going to be returning results at the verse level. So it's only searching within a particular verse. And you can have all kinds of different options here for changing what Bibles you're searching in, what passage you're searching in, and so on. And then media search is all kinds of media, whether it's audio, video, or images. And we're going to look at those three different types of searches today. You may also have some other search options up here as well. Clause search, morphological search, and syntax search all have to do with searching the original language. We're not going to be covering those today. That's a whole other topic in itself, trying to search within the morphology and so on of the Greek and Hebrew languages. Today, we're just going to be sticking with some search concepts using English terms. So let's switch back over to basic search. And I'm using version 6.8, which just came out today. I just got it installed on this computer. And what you might notice, one of the improvements in version 6.8 is you've got a whole bunch of new search helps here, or search recipes, as we like to call them. So if you need any help remembering on how to do some of the things that we're going to cover today, then this is where you might find some of that help. So let's start with some basic things. I mean, of course, you can just type in anything you like, and it'll search everything. That's the default search. Everything means it's going to search in your top Bible, your documents, any fact book results, topics, resources that you have in the library. And what we're mostly going to be looking at today is your library results, searching within the resources that you have. So I'm going to actually click on everything and set it to all resources. So we're just looking at the contents of the resources that I have. And it's searching for the word faith or related words. Notice it here says faithful or faithfulness. That's because it is searching for any form of the word faith. And you can change that in the search options here. Match all word forms. And if I also wanted to match the case that I'm searching in, either uppercase or lowercase letters, I can match that here as well. For now, we're going to leave all word forms checked, so we get every form of the word faith that the program can find. And we put in a search operator, and that's signified with the word with the all capital letters, the word and. We can put in a second search term, and it'll return every article in my library that has both of these terms. So this is the first basic search operator that we have, and is actually assumed in the program. We can even just leave that out, and just having both words typed in there separated by a space will also return the same results. Now we can also, another simple operator is the word or. Again, it needs to be in all caps. And when we search for that, we're telling the program to search for the word faith or the word reason. Now, this is an inclusive or. That means that if either of these words are present, then pull up the article. And remember, this is searching at the article level. It's not searching the entire resource, or it's not returning results from the word in the entire resource. It's if these words are present somewhere within an article or a chapter. Okay, and then we can also use the search operator and not. So here we're asking the program to search for all articles with the word faith, but leave out all of the articles that have the word reason. Okay, so there's some basic search operators for you, and, or, and not. And now let's look at how we can use those in combination. So one topic we might be wanting to study is how does faith interact with reason? So let's start with faith and reason as our basic search, and we want to build that out. But as you know, faith and reason each have a lot of synonyms. So let's put in some parentheses. And another operator that you can put in to signify or is simply a comma. So let's put in faith, comma, and a related term, doubt. And reason, or a related term, rational. Now we're asking the program to return all articles that we have where it has either the word faith or doubt, as well as either one of the terms reason or rational. And notice we've got a bunch of different sort options here as well. Ranked is the default, and what the program tries to do is put the most relevant result at the top. It's a combination of how common are those words in the article, as well as does it appear in the article header. Now, we can change the view to by resource, and this is simply all of the results that is found in all of those resources listed alphabetically. Or we can go by count. By count is very useful because it may show you your most relevant resources as a whole at the top. So here we have Matthew Henry's commentary has the most results. So it shows up here at the top of the by count. I'm going to leave it as ranked. I feel like that is often the most relevant results coming up to the top here. So what if we want to modify this search a little bit more? Well, we can certainly do that. Another word for faith is belief or believing. Now, how can we add this so that it can catch both belief and believing? Because they're different words, it's not going to find it as they match all word forms. So what I'm going to add is an asterisk. An asterisk is a wild card. And basically what that's telling the program is match any word with B-E-L-I-E and then any letters after that word. I can also put in a question mark, and that's a wild card for a single letter. But an asterisk is better in this case because then it should match belief, believe, believing, and so on. And we can add in as many different synonyms here as we want to, and it should pick up all of those resources and hopefully putting in the most relevant ones at the top. Now, we've got a lot of results here, and it looks like we are getting the most relevant ones at the top. Handbook of Christian Apologetics, of course, Encyclopedia of Christian Apologetics. A lot of apologetic resources seem to be coming to the top, as you might expect. Now, what if we want to narrow down this search? Well, we have kind of this Boolean search is what we have. It is the term here by putting it together in a logical search order inside of parentheses. And we can nest those parentheses as well. So let's say we wanted to find out not only studying faith and reason, but also specifically in regards to miracles. So let's go back to the beginning here. The word miracle. And then we're going to put the entire rest of the search in parentheses. Now remember, I'm not typing it in here, but remember that it's because it's separated by a space, the search query is going to recognize this as an and search. So it's going to say search for miracle and any article that includes both faith, doubt, and belief, as well as reason and rational. Let's hit return. Okay, and here we have some articles that are going to be very close to exactly what we're looking for. By the way, I should mention that if you have any questions about anything that we're doing here today, feel free to send us an email, webinars@logos.com. We'll get that right away, and we will try to answer your question on the air. I'm just using some sample searches here, but if you have a specific search that you're trying to figure out how to do, I would love to be able to respond to that to you in real time. So go ahead and send those questions in, webinars@logos.com, and we'll be taking breaks periodically to answer those questions. All right, let's look at a few other things here. You notice that so far we've been doing just search all text in all resources. We can also search different types of text. We can specify where in the text to look for this. Now, if you've made some highlights, you'll see those showing up here. But even if you haven't, you'll see the search fields. And there's a lot of different search fields that are available here. But let's just suppose that we want to search for the word miracle in heading texts. There we go. And now we have a list of articles where miracle is showing up just in the article heading. And here's an interesting one here. And of course, you can set as many of those search fields as you like. Sometimes it doesn't show up in heading text. Sometimes it shows up in large text, or sometimes it might show up in one of the other search fields as well. There's a lot of information to go through here. I'm not going to go through and explain what each one of them are, but I'll leave that for you to kind of explore. And notice that if we had limited the library, right now we're searching in all of the resources in our library, but if we have just a subset of our library, as we're going to look at a little later on how to create collections, then only the search fields which are applicable to those resources will show up. Okay, let's move over now to a Bible search. So Bible search, as we mentioned before, is going to show up all of the verses at the verse level, or all of the search results rather at the verse level. It's going to show every verse, in this case, searching for the word miracle. And the same logic applies if we type in justice and mercy. Find all of the verses that have both of those words in it. Now, what if we want to change the Bible version that we're searching in? We can do that here. Top Bibles is set by your prioritized resources, which is something that you can set in the library. But you can choose any Bible version that you want. I'm just going to switch over to ESV. Okay, and I want to change the passage range as well. Let's just look in the Old Testament. And we find two verses that contain both the words justice and mercy. Now, I'm pretty sure that justice and mercy are discussed in other places in the Old Testament, but they're not showing up here because both of the words don't show up in the same verse. So let's actually switch back to a Bible search. We're going to change all resources again to ESV. And even though we're searching in a Bible, we're going to do a basic search, which means we're no longer searching at the verse level. We're going to search at the chapter level. And we hit return, and we see a search results for all of these resources, which contain, or all of these chapters rather, which contain both the words justice and mercy. And let's narrow this down even a little bit more by using a proximity operator. And the word near in all caps, and again, all caps is what signifies that this is an operator, and it's going to find anywhere that these words are close to each other in the text. And here we have several other resources, or several other search results, excuse me, that weren't coming up in our Bible search. There's other kinds of operators as well. You can put in before or after, or even within a number of words or characters. That's a little bit pretty fine-grained. We're not going to demonstrate that today, but just so you know, there's lots of different proximity operators that could be useful for you at one point or another as well. All right, next we're going to be looking at data types and references. Before we go to that, just wanted to check here if we have any questions that have come in. John, do we have any questions?
Here's a user that's wanting to know if there's a way to find what Jesus said about himself in Scripture. Would you be able to search that?
About what Jesus said about himself in Scripture. We can do that by searching within speaker text. Now, that's something that we're going to be looking at later in the webinar, so I'm going to leave that one for now. And that actually might be one that would have to be done with a clause search. So we're going to be, I can demonstrate that more towards the end. Anything else that has come in as far as just some of the basic stuff that we've covered so far?
Nothing, I don't think, related to what we've covered so far. There's a lot of people that are having trouble with the resolution of their screens. That could be because of your internet speed connection. That may be causing a little bit of blurriness. So if there's a way for you to click on the gear icon under the video player, sometimes you're able to adjust the resolution, and maybe that will fix it.
Yep, just look for that gear icon, hover your mouse over the lower right corner of the screen here for that gear icon, and set that to as high quality as you can manage. Okay, so let's move on to data types. We'll clear our search here and go back to all resources. Okay, so a data type is a fancy word for any kind of reference. Now, the most common data type is simply a Bible reference. And type in a reference, we'll get the auto populator here, the auto completer, trying to guess what you're trying to do. And you'll see that whenever that bookmark shows up, that indicates that this is a Bible reference. And if you click that, it'll insert the correct format for you. Now, the important thing to recognize here is you're not searching for the text of John 3:16. We're not trying to open the Bible and jump to John 3:16. You open your Bible and you type into this reference box here. That's the navigation box. You're telling that resource to go to that location. The term for that is a milestone. You're telling it to go to that address or jump to that milestone in the resource. And that's where it would find the text itself. This here is a reference to John 3:16. So this is all of the resources that I have that make mention of John 3:16. It doesn't necessarily have the text of the verse right here, but they're making some sort of reference to it. And it's not always the full reference either. If we click on one of these search results, you can see that it just has the number 16. Now, we've tagged that as a reference to John 3:16. We look at the context, and when we ship that resource, we know that that 16 refers to verse 16 in John chapter 3. And therefore, it comes up in our search results when we're doing a search for the reference John 3:16, even though it's not the full text. Notice here that it also is returning ranges that include John 3:16, 14 through 17, 14 through 16. These are ranges that include the reference that we're looking for. Now, we can do an exact match here as well. So let's say, back up a little bit. The data type that we're searching for, the kind of reference that we're using, is Bible. Now, that's the most common data type, so the program assumes that if you just type something in angle brackets with nothing else, and you don't specify what data type you're looking for, it naturally knows to look for Bible. But if we type in the actual data type here, Bible, John 3:16, we get exactly the same search results. Now, we can modify exactly how it's looking for this as well. So let's say we want an exact match. Bible equals John 3:16. Now it's returning results only for that verse and doesn't include any of the verses that go across a range. We can also use a tilde, and this means look for this verse as well as anywhere else that any range that includes this verse. This is actually the default setting, so if you don't have any signifier here, it'll assume that you're doing a tilde search or an intersect search. You can also do a little bit fancier here. Let's say John 3:16 through 18. And again, it's going to include all references that come across that range, even if it's not an exact match. But let's say we just want to search for references within this range. We can use the term subset. Okay, and now we're searching for any reference to John 3:16, 17, or 18, or any combination within that. Now, there's lots of other kinds of data types as well. For example, you've got perhaps the works of Philo. Let's open Philo here. Okay, I was looking at this the other day. Philo's work on the giants, referring to the Nephilim in Genesis chapter 6. And we might want to know what was the ancient understanding of giants or the Nephilim or angels and demons. All of that is discussed here in Philo. And we might want to know, well, where else, what resources do we have that refer to Philo's work on the giants? So we have here, we see the reference showing up here. It's not a Bible reference this time, but it's a Philo reference. And if we right-click, we have a bunch of different options here. If you don't know, right-clicking is your best friend in Logos Bible software. There's all kinds of things that you could do with a simple right-click. The main thing to remember is when you right-click, the kind of information shows up here on the right, and the actions that you can do with that information shows up on the left. Now, in this case, we've got the word that I clicked on, we've got the sentence, and we've got the reference on the giants, section 1. And we can search all resources for this data type. And it automatically fills in the correct syntax for us. And I've got a lot of references referring to Giants 1. Let's take out the 1. And oops, I've got an exact match here. So I'm not getting any results here because it says exact. Let's take that out. It's going to assume that we're using a tilde. I'm going to go put the tilde here just for clarity. So we're going to search for every reference to the works of Philo at this reference on the giants. Here we have all kinds of references throughout my library that refer to this, and this might give me some insight into how the ancients understood the Nephilim and supernatural. I'm going to do one more example of a data type. Many of you have the timeline. And when we open up the timeline, we can see that we've got David living somewhere in around 1000 BC. Obviously, a lot of these dates we don't have exact knowledge of. Some of them we do. If we click on the timeline, we can also see resources with dates in them. Now, these dates are tagged with a date data type. It's a kind of reference. Again, a reference is anything that opens up something else. Okay, so if I click on, let me go back to Philo for just a moment here. So let's click on this search result in community forming power. Okay, we find this reference to Philo, and if we click on that reference, it will jump straight to that reference in Philo. Okay, back to date. In the Baker Encyclopedia of the Bible, we've got a date. And if we click on the date, it will open that date in our timeline. So a reference is anything that opens something else to the correct location. Okay, so we've got a date data type. And if we right click on that, we find, here we go, here's a good example. We can search this resource for that date range. Again, it shows an exact match. But if we make it an intersect match, we find anything that refers within that date range or goes across that date range within this Bible or within this Bible encyclopedia. So let's have a little bit of fun with this. Let's change the dates here to 1100, 950, which is somewhere in there is the reign of David. And let's change that to all resources. Okay, so here we've got all of our resources with that date tagged. Now, this is maybe kind of interesting, but maybe would be more useful to look at it in the timeline, perhaps. Except what we can do now is switch over to a media search. Now let's search for all of our media that is tagged with anywhere in this date range. And here we have all kinds of images contained in the library that might provide us some insight into what life was like at that time. And we can filter down media searches as well, just like we had the search results in basic search. We can filter down these images to, let's say, architectural images, or artifact images, or maps. Okay, and now we have some specific images for exactly what the world looked like at the time of King David's reign. And let's say that we don't necessarily want to search in all of our resources for this, but we want to narrow down just perhaps our Bible encyclopedias. Let's type in the word encyclopedia. Now, notice here that even before you type it in, you have a lot of different options to filter your library. We've got these series. Series are automatically supplied by the program. They recognize that when you have a series like a commentary series, all of those go together. And I can choose one of those just to search within any one of those series. I don't necessarily expect to find results for this search, but we can also type in whatever we want here and match all of our resources in the library. And match that, what we typed in. So in this case, the library recognizes that we have 83 resources that match the query encyclopedia. We're going to search in all of those 83 resources and narrow down our search here. We're going to talk next about how to create your own collections and segment your library however you want to. Going to pause for questions again real quick here. John, how are we doing?
Yeah, a couple users had the question about, is there a list of qualifiers and or near, where would they find a list of that, and how many operator commands do we have?
Yeah, great question. Most of those are listed in a blank search panel. If you just erase everything you have here, you've got most of these logical operators showing up here. And, or, and not, before, after, near. So those are mostly listed in the search helps. You can also find this in the help documentation. So if we go to the library and type in help, try logos help. Where is it? There we go. There we go. Next time, try the help icon here, the question mark, and it'll open up, and you can find search. It'll give you different sections to go through. Good question. Any others here?
A couple of users asked if there's a way to search by theme or topic.
There certainly is. That would be a label search that we're going to get into a little bit later. Most of the time, what I would suggest for a topic is simply to open your guides menu and open the topic guide. Most of the time, any topics that you're looking for, you're going to find the best results here.
Yeah, one more question. Several users have asked about being able to search for Bible verses within the search. Say if they wanted to list Genesis 1:1, Psalm 1, John 1, Revelation 12:1, is that something the search would do, or is there another tool that would be able to list out those passages that they're looking for?
Okay, so to make sure I understand the question, we're saying we want to search for multiple different references in an article?
Yeah, I think what they're looking for is just a way to display multiple Bible verses using the search tool. And what I know of the software is you wouldn't use the search tool.
Right.
You'd use something like a passage list or something like that.
So I'll demonstrate that just very quickly here. If you go to Documents, this is where you can store lots of different kinds of information. So you can create notes, highlights, and one of the things you can do is a passage list. And passage list, it sounds like, is what this user is asking about. I don't remember all of the references that you listed, but you can just type in whatever reference you want. Let's make this an ESV list. Whatever references you want, and then it'll save that for later. Okay. Great question. And then there's also some fun search things you can do with passage lists as well. I don't know if we'll get to it today because there's so much to do with search, but you can actually search within a passage list if you've created one already that's quite extensive and you want to search within it. That's another thing that you can do under Bible, and then switch what passage you're looking in. Okay, well, keep those questions coming. Again, the email address is webinars@logos.com. We're going to switch gears here for just a minute. Whenever we do these training events, we always have some sort of featured product And usually that's just a courtesy to you, and honestly helps us pay the bills. We thank you when you use our coupon code and you check out and purchase something, and it just helps us pay the bills and keep this training free to you. And usually it's just something I mention in passing. Today, I'm going to take a little bit of time out and talk about multiple base packages, because we've got a sale going on right now, which literally you do not want to miss. If you're like me and you enjoy having a lot of resources to draw from in your library, this is a sale that that you do not want to pass up. So if that's not something that interests you, that's okay. You know, this would be a good time to go stretch your legs or get a cup of coffee, but just bear with me for a minute and I'll tell you why this is such a good idea. Let's just suppose that you're a gold owner and you are ready to start adding some resources to your library. And one resource that you may have found in your library is the Lexham Bible Guides. You've got a couple of them already with Paul's letters, and you may be interested in getting some more resources in your library. Oops, excuse me here. All right, sorry about that. There we go. Okay, so Paul's letters on our website, you can go and add that individually to your cart. You might also be looking for some more resources to help with your preaching, to help you recognize themes in a passage and how you can apply those. One great series for that is the Preacher's Homiletic Commentary. And those on our website would cost you, if you bought them individually, over $1,000. This is assuming that you have gold already. Or if you are of the Baptist tradition, you might consider adding on a gold Baptist package. We have a number of different denominational lines of our base packages. Our standard ones are most popular. Those are designed to be useful for just about anybody. But if you're from a particular denominational package, what we've done is basically traded out some of the resources in our standard packages and put in resources that are particular to that denomination. These two are not particular to Baptist, but they do come with the Baptist package, along with 120 additional resources. And even though they would cost $1,000, over $1,000 by themselves, because you already own some of the resources, if you're a gold user already, if you're upgrading to Baptist Gold, you own a lot of those resources, and your dynamic price, adjusted down for what you own, would be $895.11. Now, right now, we're actually running a 15% off sale, and this is the last chance that they're offering for Logo 6 packages to get 15% off of any package or upgrade to a package. So your price would be $760.84. Now, right now, for the webinar, what we're doing today for you viewers is, if you upgrade today, and it's an upgrade, if you do an upgrade of at least $300, we will add to your cart the Hebrew audio pronunciation at no extra charge. This is normally $49.95. Now, we've had Greek pronunciation in the program for a long time. If you're doing a Bible word study and you want to know how a Greek lemma sounds, you click on the speaker and it'll say it right out loud for you so you can hear it. The Hebrew audio pronunciations we just came out with last year. It came out right before Logo 6 launched. They didn't have time to get it into the packages. So today, when you do an upgrade of at least $300, you will get these Hebrew audio pronunciations at absolutely no extra charge. I'm going to do just a couple of other examples here because I do think this is such a great deal. I don't want you to miss out. Let's just say that you were interested in a Lutheran Gold package. Again, these prices are going to be, assuming that you upgrade from Gold, so your price might be a little bit different. But the Lutheran base package comes with the Continental Commentary series from Fortress Press, the works of Dietrich Bonhoeffer, which are only available as part of a base package like this, which would cost well over $1,000 by themselves. With a Lutheran base upgrade, Lutheran Gold upgrade, you would get these as well as an additional more than 100 resources, and you would pay much less than the price that you would pay individually. And again, you get that Hebrew audio pronunciation for free just for joining us for the webinar today. Another example, let's say you're not ready to make that big of a jump up, but you might own gold and you want to add on the Pentecostal and Charismatic Silver Collection. You got some great resources here. The IVP New Testament Commentary is one of my favorites. It's a great critical commentary with some very well-known names writing it, as well as the Life Application Bible Commentary. Really practical instruction here in that Bible commentary. Again, that would cost almost $500 just by itself. With an additional 120 resources we add on to that, it becomes a silver package, and you get it for just another $45. And again, you get that $50 value of the Hebrew audio pronunciations for free. One more, and then we'll move on here. Because I don't want you to think that it's just commentaries that you're getting here. There's all kinds of other resources in these base packages. Looking at the Gold Reformed, for example, comes with Bart's Church Dogmatics and the Exegetical Dictionary of the New Testament. By themselves, cost almost $640. For just another $50 on top of that, you get an additional, again, over 100 resources and the free Hebrew audio pronunciation for joining us at the webinar today. So to get that deal, you're going to want to use the coupon code AUDIO on your checkout today. We're going to be leaving this up for a couple of days, but if you use the orange button that says Get Deal, if you're watching on the webinar page today, that will automatically add the correct coupon code to your cart so that you won't miss out on that deal. Okay, so commercial's over. We're going to go back to looking at how to construct collections in your library. So I'm just going to clear my screen. There we go. And before we get started on collections, it's really important to understand how the library is structured or how to find resources in your library. So let's right-click on the library button here and choose Open in a Floating Window. And I'm just going to make that full screen. Now, yours might come up in tile view. I like to have it in detail view to give us as much information about these resources on the screen as we can. So when we type anything into the library, and it is going to look in any of these fields to match what you've typed in. So whether it's in the title or the series name or the type of resource that it is, or even in the description somewhere, it's going to return all of those results. And you see that I have 1,100 resources in this library that match the word commentary. But we can also filter it down by any one of these column headers. So for example, I can put in author, column headers here, colon, and this signifies to the library that I'm typing in a filter. So in the author field, look for Geisler. I have one resource in this library by Norman Geisler. Okay, I can do that with any field I want here. I can type in, let's say, series apostolic. Okay, and I have a whole bunch of resources that have the word apostolic in the series title, and so on. And I can combine these any way that I want to as well. So let's say I want to create a resource or a collection for my marriage resources. So I can type in the word marriage. And this is going to look for anywhere that matches, no matter what field it's in. But I'm looking for specifically resources that have marriage in the title or subject. Okay, now we have a rule that we've typed in here, and it shows all of the resources that I have that match that rule. Now, I can create a collection from here. I can select all of these resources, and I can save them as a collection. This is one way to do it. I don't necessarily recommend this. I'll show you why here. I click on Save as a Collection, and it automatically adds all of those in here individually in the plus this resources. But there's a better way to do this. The better way is, let's create a new collection. By the way, you can find this under Tools and go to Collections. When you go to Collections, it'll automatically open up a new collection. It'll assume that you're wanting to make a new one. And let's call this my Marriage and Family Collection. Okay. What I can do is take what I've typed in here, exactly the same syntax, copy that, and put it in as a rule. Title marriage or subject marriage. And we get all of the same resources. And then if there are additional resources in the library, let's go back to the library here and let's dock this tab. Okay, if there are additional resources in the library that we want to manually add in, we can drag that here as well. Or we can adjust the rule and it'll automatically pull that in here as well. Now, the advantage of having a rule in your collection is that when you get new resources that match the rule, they are automatically added in. You don't have to manually go and adjust it every time you get new resources for your library. And you can make as many different collections as you want for as many different topics as you want. Now, I like having topics on different subjects. So I have one for apologetics. I have one for illustrations and anecdotes. You also get illustrations in the passage guide and some other places in the program, but it doesn't always find all of the resources in your library that have illustrations in them. So here we have a rule that pulls in some more. And we can also add to this or my tag anecdote. The reason we might want to do that is if we have a resource in the library that we've added a tag to, now that I've added that tag, that resource will automatically show up in my illustrations and anecdotes collection as well. So I've got one for a few others here as well. And the advantage of this is that when we go back and do our search, okay, we'll do a basic search. Let's go back and do our faith and reason search. We can segment our search to only our apologetics resources, for example. Now, to build these collections, you notice I've got a bunch of different things typed in here. You might ask, well, how do you know what to type in? Well, that takes a little bit of creativity. What you're going to need to do is open the library and find what you're looking for and try to find identifiers for what's going to match that. So let's say we're looking for church fathers. There we go. Okay, so I notice here that we've got some series called Early Church Fathers, another one called Fathers of the Church, Early Christian Literature Primers. These are all in the series category. And I notice here in the subjects, we've got subjects like Fathers of the Church, Early Christian Literature, Apostolic Fathers. So what I might do to create a collection for this is to type in subject, and then include those. Now, you have to be a little bit careful when you have multiple words. You need to include those as in quotes. This is something I didn't demonstrate in a search, but when you put in quotes, that's telling the program, don't just look for these words anywhere in the article, but search for these words in this exact order. That's called a phrase search. Okay, we would want to do the same thing when building our collection. So let's look at church fathers. Start with resources matching subject, colon, fathers of the church. And then or, I got something wrong here. Let's go back to the library. Just drag it out here. Let's see, subjects. Fathers of the church. I missed a the. There we go. Or subject. Literature early. Or okay, and you can see it, the resulting collection is growing and growing. And I might go through here and look for some additional ones and try to find other resources that might match the rule that are not found just with church fathers. Okay, well, this seems like a lot of work, doesn't it? Well, it is in one sense, but it's also going to help you pinpoint your searching and get you a lot better results than just searching through your entire library. But it really is worth the investment that it takes you to build those collections. And those are completely customizable. You can build them any way you want to, including different Bible versions, different commentaries, and so on. Now, a lot of those, though, are already built for you. And I'm going to show you that using faithlife.com. You know, let me just pause for questions here again. Do we have any questions on collections before we move on here, John?
Yeah, would you mind showing the quick collections feature in the search?
Oh, absolutely. Okay, so I kind of alluded to this a little bit before, where you can type in, I just did encyclopedias before, remember this? And it finds 190 resources that match in the library. So you can also let's see, I want resources from Ray Comfort. Any of those library filters will also work here in search as well. So author : Comfort finds 84 resources. And no results for Faith and Reason. There we go. And any of those library tags that we were looking at before would also show up, would also work here as a quick collection.
Yeah, that's great. One user was asking, he got over 10,000 results in a search. So this is a great way to limit your searches after you've searched and got too many results to look through.
Yeah.
A couple of users have asked for how do you do a Greek search within the Bible. Is that something we could address real quick?
Yeah, we can do that really quick. Greek searching and original language searching is actually quite complex and something that we weren't going to really address very much today. But just quickly, the easiest way to do that is simply to open your Bible, right-click, and again, you've got all of the different kinds of information showing up here on the right. And you can see there's Greek words here as well, in this case, cosmos. Now, you can look for the manuscript word, which is that exact form of the word as it appears in this particular verse, or what I recommend is the lemma. The lemma is the dictionary form of the word. So choose lemma, and you can choose search this resource. And here we see everywhere that word cosmos appears in the Greek New Testament. Another way to do it, again with lemma, is to go to a Bible word study. And this is not a search per se. This is a guide. Guides are specialized reports that show you more information than just a simple search. In this case, it'll show you the Greek word in the center of the translation ring, and it'll show you how it's translated in the ESV. And there's at least one instance where it does not mean world. It means real existence, or at least that's the way that the translators of the ESV used it. So there's a couple of quick ways to do a search on the Greek word. You can also, there's lots of other tricks for searching Greek and Hebrew, but that really deserves another webinar all of its own.
Very good. And that's one of the good things about Logos is you can get to a lot of information in a multitude of different ways. One thing I did want to mention was the G: search. If you know the transliteration of the Greek word that you're looking for, you can always do G: and then say Logos. And you can even run a proximity search between those two. So you could do G: Logos near, say, G: we could say Theos, and that would search for God near words. So that's another way to do that. One more question: does Logos take into account the verses and chapter numbers that appear as Roman numerals within resources? So sometimes you'll find in an older resource, especially Roman numerals for, say, Matthew, Roman numeral 2, verse 1. Does Logos take into account those verse numbers?
Yeah, absolutely. I don't have a good example I can pull up of that right away, but in a lot of classic commentaries, it uses that older style of putting in the Roman numerals. And yeah, absolutely. Those are tagged, just like we saw before where we just had the 16 alone by itself. The software recognizes that is a reference to John 3:16 and not some other 16. It also recognizes what those Roman numerals mean, that it's still a reference to the same verse, and it'll definitely pull that up in a reference search. Okay, so moving back to collections here, I wanted to show you how there's a quick way to get some really incredible collections that other users have already made for you using faithlife.com. Now, if you're not already using faithlife.com, I really encourage it. It's you already have a Faithlife account. Faithlife is the name of our company that creates Logos Bible software, and you just go to faithlife.com and sign in with the same account you would use on our logos.com website. And what I would recommend in this case is do a search for the word collections. Okay, and maybe start with this one called Commentary Collections. This is the name of the group. This is a group that was put together by Faithlife users, by Logos users, with the express purpose of creating and sharing collections to make it easier to find what you want in your library. So we want to go here. We want to join the group. Okay, now we have some extra tabs here at the top, and we want to go to Documents. Now, the great thing about the commentaries group here is they put together commentaries on different books of the Bible and also on different types of commentaries. So let's say we're looking for an expository commentary. We click on Actions, and we make a copy of that collection, and it's going to show up in our program. Let's say we want technical commentaries. Let's make a copy of that one. Let's load some more here. And we have lots of different historical commentaries. We have background commentaries. That one looks interesting. I'm always interested in the background. Okay, so all of these different commentary collections that made up by other Logos users who may not have the same library as I do, but because these are dynamic collections, they'll automatically work with the resources that I do have and load up based on the rules that they've set. Let's look at one of the other collections groups. Logos product collections. This is one that we actually put out in-house here. So people are asking, okay, well, I've just upgraded from gold to, say, Baptist gold. Now, how do I know which resources came in my Baptist gold? And that's what this group exists for. So we go to the Documents tab again. We've got some reading plans that we've shared here. And we've got some bundles that have been put together. We keep going down. You'll also see different product collections that have been based on the products that we have. Let's just type in gold here and see what comes up. So let's make a copy for Reform Gold and Baptist Gold. And even if you've got an older Logos 5 package, you'll find that here as well. Okay, one more group. And this is one that's my favorite. You put a denomination, search for denomination, and you'll find a group called Logos Library Theology and Denomination Tags. This was a huge effort by a lot of different Logos users coming together and sharing all of the different denominational tags that they have for resources and authors in their library. And it was a big collaborative effort that was coordinated in the forums, not calendar, documents. And we can now have the benefit of all of the work that they've put in. And we have, let's say, denomination charismatic or theology charismatic. And they have these collections put together at different levels as well. They have theology, denomination, and even denominational stream. Even as far down as particular churches. So this is a fantastic resource for you, especially if you've added on more than one denominational package, or if you have resources in your library from different streams of theology, then this helps you filter down exactly to what you want to search in. Okay, so we've copied several different collections to the account. Let's go back to the program here. And because your account is all connected across different sites and services, the program here will synchronize, and then all of those resources, all of those collections, I should say, now automatically show up here in my collections. I can see all of the background commentaries that I have that have been matched with the rules that they've set up, or all of the different expository commentaries, and so on. All right. We are running short on time here. This has been a long haul here. I'm going to show you one last thing, some advanced searching techniques that I think you'll really like. So if you can bear with me for a little bit longer, and then we'll wrap it up. Okay, so we're going to clear the screen here. We're going to go back to all resources. And we're going to talk about how to search within labels and milestones. So let's start with labels. So in your program, you have a lot of different specialized markup of the text. So for example, this text is in red, signifying that it's Jesus talking. That's just one very simple example that you find in a lot of places. But we have also tagged any time that anyone is talking. So in this case, we have John the Baptist down here. And we see that this is tagged, the speaker is John the Baptist. And again, anytime you don't know how to do a search, right-click is a great way to start, or use the search helps here in the panel. So let's choose the speaker label John the Baptist and search this resource. And we search everywhere that the person John the Baptist is speaking. Let's make sure we're set to all passages here. And here we have a list of all of those labels, that speaker label. Okay, there's lots of other ways that this applies as well. Let's look at another passage. Okay, 1 Corinthians 11 talks about some commandments for how to present yourselves. And again, if we right-click, we find that this type of literature, this literary typing or this genre, is tagged to several different levels, one of which is exhortation. So we can click on exhortation and search this resource, and we find all of the passages that are this kind of genre, that all have an exhortation. Now, and again, there's lots of different labels like this, some of which are available only as part of a Logos Now subscription. One example of that, many of you would be familiar with the Psalms Explorer, where you can go in and you can see a representation of all of the different Psalms and how they're grouped and how they're tagged, who is attributed to have written them, what the theme is, and so on. All of this data in Logos Now has been assembled as a new data set that you can actually search within. And we have an example of that in the search recipes here, the search helps. If we scroll down to labeled data, and not seeing the one that I'm looking for, so I'm just going to go ahead and type it in here. Now this is signified by the curly brackets here. So we do label, name of the label, and we're going to put in the operator where. So find all of the Psalms where the genre is wisdom. Okay. Now, you might ask, well, what good does this do? I mean, we see all of the different Psalms that are wisdom, but we could already do that with the Psalms Explorer. The same thing with searching for John the Baptist, his speaker labels. Well, there's a special search called within. So let's say you want to search within all of this labeled text for the word trust. So again, we're searching for the word trust anywhere that we have a psalm that is tagged as the wisdom genre. And we have several different results from different psalms. We could do the same thing with our speaker search. Let's look for God. Says he wants to command you. Okay, now the speaker text, we had a question earlier about how can we search everywhere that Jesus is speaking about himself? This speaker label is how you would do that. And let's put in I or me. So this is searching for any time that Jesus says the words I or me. There's a more sophisticated way to do this in clause search, which we won't demo today, but I'll follow up with you offline. I'll send you an email with some specific instructions on how to do this more sophisticated. Okay, we're going to do one last search type, and that is searching for milestones. We talked earlier about references, where if you click on a reference in a program, or in a resource, it's going to open that reference. So in other words, these are all references that we can click and open to that milestone. It's going to open up that address. And this is an actual milestone where you can type it in and it'll jump to that location. So there's a new search in Logo 6 called milestone search, where you can search for, let's use the same example, milestone, start with the curly brackets, and this is case sensitive, so make sure you put a capital M in there. 1 Corinthians 11, and then close off our syntax. And let's switch this over to a basic search as well. So now we're going to search for all resources that have a milestone for 1 Corinthians 11. Well, most of what's coming up here at the beginning is Bibles, which isn't terribly helpful. But let's say we want to open up one of our commentary collections that we just added. Where's our collections here? Okay, let's look at our expository commentaries perhaps. Now we're searching every commentary we have with an entry for this chapter, which again, the software already does in the passage guide. So nothing really new here until we add that within search. So let's say we're interested in what is he talking about with the hair here? Why is that important? Now we can search within our expository commentaries for this reference for the word hair. And now we can find a very precise search. We're getting exactly the resources we need to explain what's going on here. And maybe if expository isn't what we're looking for, then maybe we would look for that in our background commentaries to try to get some cultural background, or the technical commentaries to try to get some insight from the original language. So as you can see here, a very powerful way to really narrow down and pinpoint the results that you need. Okay, and we are a bit over time here, but I wanted to make sure I got through all of that for you. I do still want to answer any questions that are lingering. John, do we have any more rolling in?
We have a lot, and so we'll do our best to answer you by email. We can't get to them all right now. But one user asked if it was possible to create a collection that doesn't include another collection. I'm assuming that they mean just by adding just individual resources. Can you create a collection just by picking the resources that you want?
Mm-hmm. Okay, so let's go back to our collections. And we'll just call this our test collection. And we're going to start with resources matching, let's say, our expository collection that we've already made. Whoop. Oh, and the program just crashed on me. Well, that's embarrassing. Hopefully you can see what I was going for there. You just click on the open menu and find the collection that you want. Find the collection that you want, and then click and drag that to the add these resources area. I'll try that again. Where's our unnamed collection? Okay, so we start with, say, expository commentaries. You click and drag that to the plus these resources area. And it's giving me a little bit of trouble here, I'm afraid. And then again, you can say minus these resources to do the same thing. Click it and drag it to that minus these resources area.
Well, great. I think we'll leave the rest of the questions for email responses. A lot of you have asked questions that are really good and deserve a kind of a longer, in-depth explanation. So we'll do our best to answer all of you. If you tuned in late or want to watch this webinar again, or maybe even share it with a friend, you can do that by going to logos.com/webinar. We'll keep a copy there. Should be up in the coming, if not today, in the coming days. Adam and his team here at Faithlife are continually creating content that helps you master the use of your software, all the while helping you understand the Bible better. The team exists to offer you free software training, so that's why we're here. You can find all of our training videos at logos.com/logos-pro. That's logos.com/logos-pro. We want to hear from you, so feel free to send us in any more questions that you have, either at our webinars at logos.com address or logospro@faithlife.com email address. We'd love to get your questions and comments and input about this webinar. So if you have topics that you'd like us to cover in the future, please send us an email. We read every email and do our best to respond to every email. So please talk to us. That's why we're here. Thank you so much for coming to this webinar. We really enjoyed it. Our next webinar is December 29th. We'll be talking about Bible reading plans and devotionals. So be sure to check out that one. And by all means, look at the promotion that we're running with the coupon code audio. It's a great deal. So Adam, thank you so much for this webinar. Thank you for taking the time and doing it.
Happy to be here.